Thank you, Dr. Navinder. Hello and welcome to our presentation on accessible talk bandwidth of a series elastic actuator, considering the thermodynamic limitations. Uh, from the keynote one today, Professor Lewis gave a very good introduction to series elastic actuators. And series elastic actuators are popular with force control applications like robot-human and robot-environment interactions. And neglecting thermal limitations analysis in force control applications can cause damage to the actuator. And torque control algorithms and thermodynamic models are often treated as separate branches for an actuator. Therefore, we try to bridge that gap as well. Within the content of the presentation, first we look at the system identification of the actuator and later on the torque bandwidth of the actuator. In this first part of the presentation, we will look at the system identification of all the subsystems. And as a case study, we will be conducting experiments on a heavy robotic series elastic actuator called X59, shown in the right. We have to start from the electrical subsystem of the actuator, and we have the reference input of voltage coming there. And the electromagnetic torque is generated by a brushless direct current motor, and we can linearize the model using a series, a winding resistance and a winding inductance. And starting the mechanical subsystem of the actuator, motor dynamics, BLDC motor dynamics can be characterized in this linear model using the rotor inertia and the viscous friction BM. Then afterwards, we have the gear reduction. We assume and we neglect the inertial and frictional effects, and we assume it only to act as a torque multiplier. And then we have the characteristic elastic element important to series elastic actuators, and in between the final gear and the load side interface. And we assume it as a static relationship where the generated torque is equal to elastic constants times the deflection of the actuator. Finally, we have the load dynamics model here using a load inertia and damping coefficient BL. Here we have the entire electromechanical subsystem given there, but of course we have to note that there are non-linearities in this model, as well as external disturbance coming into the system to the load dynamics, as well as to the motor dynamics. In our later sections, we'll use a disturbance rejection controllers to compensate for that. To identify the unknown parameters of the previous model, we use a constraint model. There, where we fix the output, we can therefore simulate an infinite load side inertia, or effectively the load dynamics will be zero. And the system transfer function will reduce to following equation. And we have conducted multiple experiments so that we can identify the unknown parameters of this model. Once you have developed the nominal plant model, also known as PNS, we need to enforce that model. Therefore, we are going to use a disturbance observer as shown in this gray box. Here we have the pseudo inverse of the nominal plant model as well as a Butterworth low pass filter. What happens here is at low frequencies, the low pass filter will have unity gain, and this entire block will behave as the nominal plant model. But of course, we have to note that because DOB is not a tracking controller, we have also implemented a model-based feedback controller, CFP here, which is PID controller. And here is the entire electromechanical control system of the actuator. Then in the next section, we have to look at the thermodynamics of the system. To do that, first we have to identify the important thermal bodies of the actuator. So we have the ambience, and we have the casing, and here we can see the brushless direct current motor mounted in the close boundary of the casing, and there we have the housing of the motor as well as the winding. The Joule losses are the significant thermal losses in this subsystem, and it will be propagated out as shown here in this electrical analogous circuit. One approximation we can do here is that if the casing is mounted on a large metal base, we can approximate it as behaving as the ambience to the system, as shown here. And we have modeled the power losses as current sources. And we have thermal resistances R1 to R3 characterize the heat dissipation between different bodies. And we have C1 to C3 represent the heat capacity constants. For example, a part of the power losses coming from Joule losses will heat up the winding through capacitor C1, and the remaining part will be propagated to the stator housing through this thermal resistance R1, and it will heat up the housing, and later on the outside of the brusher direct current motor, and so on. So a good thermodynamic model should be able to estimate the following four conditions as we have identified. First, a continuous operation. In continuous operation, the temperatures will reach a steady state value. We can characterize that from having the capacitors saturated. And again, we should be able to estimate a periodic operation. It will be similar as the continuous operation. There will be steady state values, but the temperatures will be according to the RMS values of the periodic operation. Then any actuator can be short-term overloaded for a small brief amount of time. Here we can also characterize that from our model. What happens there is the stator housing temperature will not rise quickly, and this thermal resistance R1 and capacitance C1 will be act as a parallel circuit, because this stator housing acts as the ambience. So we can characterize that from our model as at fourth condition, we should be able to estimate any arbitrary operation given some conditions. So here we have the step response of the thermodynamic model in practice. And we can see that the winding temperature shown in red has a very low time constant, and it quickly rises in the temperatures. Therefore, the winding temperature will act as the critical temperature for our thermal analysis. And this steady state response as well as curve fitting results can be used to calculate the unknown constants of our model as shown in previous slides. Then this is the most important one, any arbitrary operation estimation. Because it is impossible to measure the actual temperature inside the winding, we usually use models, and we have made some approximations, and using these two equations, we can estimate any arbitrary operation bounded by those constraints. So here you can see we have real-time convolution as well as initial conditions. And this is because we have initial conditions and other thermal body temperatures, we need to utilize the entire thermodynamic subsystem and the model. In the section 2, we look at the accessible torque bandwidth considering the thermodynamic limitations. So here we have fixed the output of the actuator, because we have noted that the torque generated torque is effectively higher and much better in the output fixed configuration. Therefore, if there are any thermal limitations, they will be obvious first in this configuration as well. So here, the fixed output series elastic actuator is commanded with a sinusoidal reference PWM signal, which linearly increases in the frequency, as you can see from the figure. And the torque is effectively generated according to the open loop plant dynamics. However, we are not very much focused about the time domain behavior. Instead, we look at the frequency domain behavior of the generated torque, and these figures are superimposed with the critical temperature, which is the winding temperature. From this figure, you can see at a low frequency, but at high gain range, we have high winding temperatures. And again, we have high winding temperatures in high frequency, but a low gain range. The important thing is we couldn't identify any thermal limitations before reaching the open loop torque bandwidth of the actuator, and therefore we move on to the next section of the closed loop torque tracking, which is very important in force control applications. And one important thing is the characteristics are governed by the feedback control as well. And we have shown for 4 instances of reference torque tracking how the torque value, torque gain is varying with the frequency, and the thermal behavior is similar as the feedback controller usually drives the input to saturation regions in higher frequencies. And we can observe that some extreme thermal temperatures are observed in this high frequency range, closer to 5 and 6 frequency range. Then we have to look specifically at the transfer functions and what is the effect of the thermal limitations in achieving closed loop torque bandwidth. Here we have the references from the previous figure again with the transfer functions. Here in the bright red color, we can see we have plotted if the actuator reached the torque bandwidth before any thermal limitations. But for these three area curves, the which are 6, 8, and 10 Newton meter reference values, the actuator could not reach the characteristic closed loop torque bandwidth due to the occurrences of thermal extremes in a prior frequency values, as those are shown in this dark red color from these three figures. So there we can see a problem. The thermal limitations are affecting the torque bandwidth. And in order to improve the accessible torque bandwidth, we have implemented a thermal controller, and it will be triggered at the threshold value of 95% of the maximum permissible winding temperature, shown from the beginning of the ROA. And if the temperature values begins to rise even more, the nonlinear filtering and input reference signal amplitude restriction is used to lower the winding temperature. So it will happen in the direction of the ROC, and at the end it will reach a point like there at the end of the ROA. And of course you can see the closed loop torque bandwidth reduces, but it is justifiable because we have improved the accessible torque bandwidth value as well. As the conclusion, for the example we have discussed specifically, electromechanical torque bandwidth of 7.25 Hertz was not accessible, and the thermal controller we have used improves the accessible bandwidth by 8.25% up to 6.303 Hertz. And as a conclusion, inclusion of a thermal controllers maximize the lifespan and accessible bandwidth of the actuators in torque control applications. We have come to the end of our presentation, and thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please let us know.
Thank you, Bhanukar. So I'd like to ask all the viewers on Zoom, if you have questions, please do post it on the paper Slack channel for Bhanukar's paper, that is PAP 125. In the meantime, Bhanukar, I've got a question for you. Now you've done a case study on a specific heavy robotics series elastic actuator. In your view, how generalizable are these methods to other series elastic actuators, as well as in general other actuators to do this sort of thermodynamic study?
That is a good question, Dr. Navinder. And the thing is, like the electromechanical subsystem system identification we have done within the scope of this paper, it is absolutely generalizable to any actuator. And the deriving of the thermodynamic subsystem can vary depending on the configuration of the actuator, because it depends on so many factors like how the internals are combined. But the methodology is same. First, you have to identify the thermodynamic bodies inside the actuator, and afterwards you have to do some experiments and identify the system. And once you have identified the system, when you have all the models running up and going on well, then the methodology is applicable to any actuator, not only series elastic actuators.
Thank you, Bhanukar. We have a little bit more time if anyone has further questions. So on Zoom, Luis has a question. So what would be your ideal actuator? So that is from Luis Sentes.
The ideal actuator is where we don't have any nonlinearities. Within this scope, we have identified that the nonlinearities affect the actuator very much. So A series elastic actuator is very promising because we can measure the torque generated from the actuator actually inside the actuator. Therefore, a series elastic actuator with good heat sinking and good modeling will be our ideal actuator.
All right. Thank you, Bhanuka. Any other questions for Bhanuka? All right. So please join me in thanking Bhanuka for the great talk. So thank you very much, and we will move on